Hello and welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial we will see how to convert data ranges into tables, but more importantly how to work with data validation using dynamic lists. So most of the time we have our data in rows and columns inside Excel, but it is really helpful if we can format this data as a table because of some very distinct advantages. So, and it's very easy to do. So you can either have your data in this normal vanilla flavored format, or you can convert it into table format with some very distinct advantages. So if you wanted to convert your data into table format, you can just simply click anywhere in this block of data and just simply click on format data as table. So this opens up a little dialog and you can just click on something and it will move forward. The faster way to do this is to just simply click anywhere in the block of data and press Ctrl T. So it just opens up a small dialog, and this is a little important to point out that if you have your top row as headers, you need to click this on. By default it automatically picks this on, and so everything is in order, and I'll just simply click OK. So my data is immediately converted into a table. So some immediate advantages are that it applies a filter to this data. The data is much more aesthetically displayed in bands, and because there are filters, you can immediately come here and say, you can start working. I'm only interested in data from the north, for example, and okay, so the data is condensed only for the north. You can come back and say, no, I'm interested in everything. So data from all territories is actually shown. So this is one advantage of formatting data as table, that you automatically get filters installed on your columns. But the bigger advantage is that suppose if you want to continue this, add a column that is adjacent to a column that is already part of a data table, the data table automatically increases its fold and includes this column. But this column has to be adjacent to a column that is already part of the a data table. So let me just say, if I was just adding sales, okay, so that sales column is now part of the data table automatically. And just see one other advantage, that if you were supposed to calculate a formula like price multiplied by quantity, and you will see that there is a small difference here because of the square brackets, and this indicates that this is part of the table. So as you just enter this formula, you will find that the formula it ripples right across the column. You don't have to drag it, or you don't have to yourself copy the formula right down. So if I can just click on this, the formula just goes right to the bottom. The same is also true for the rows. So if I was to add a row, it would automatically, which is adjacent to a row that is part of a table, it will automatically get included inside the table. And this is an interesting property that we are going to use in dynamic lists. So if I can just add number 7, and let us say that this is Kenneth. He's from the East Territory. The product that he has bought from us, the ID is 30, quantity is 10, and the price is 10, the quantity is again 10, and so automatically the formula is calculated for you. Now one other advantage is that if suppose you wanted to do a total for the column, so here if you were to kind of do a sum for this column, what you get is something special. So it is not only total this, but you can just expand this and choose any one of these. So this is another great advantage of a table, that you can so for example, if I was to come here that total is automatically available to me, and here we can just simply take another kind of total. So this is an average, and this could be another average or maximum or minimum or whatever else. So this is another interesting aspect of a table. So I'm just going to unfurl this, so you get really good summation choices automatically. So this is what a table is all about. Now let me just take this example a little further. So if I can just, so this is about a table. How do you undo a table? So if suppose you want to get rid of this table, so when you click inside the table, you get table tools, and then you just need to click on design, and then you can just simply convert it back to range. So when you click on this, you get a small warning message that you are about to do this, and I will just go ahead and say yes. So this is now no longer a table. The formatting is retained. We can just simply change it. Just click on an empty cell, go to Format Painter, and just select the cells, and you are back again to normal data. Okay, so this is how you can create tables, and these are the advantages of tables. And so if you have blocks of data, it might be worthwhile to convert it into or format it as a table for the many conveniences that we have, and we are going to see some more in later videos. So let me say I want to now add a city to this whole table, and instead of typing the city where this order was placed, I want to pick it up from a list. So I can just simply say Delhi, Mumbai, London, Paris. So these are some of the cities where my customers are located, and I want to enter this. But instead of typing these, I want to pick them up from a list. So I can do that quite easily using data validation. And so one of the ways in which I'll tell you 3 ways to do this. One of the ways is just go here, type data validation, and what you are trying to say is that this cell by default has any value, but this time around what you are saying is I want to pick this up from a list. And one of the options is that you can just simply type this on your own. So Delhi, Mumbai, if you had a very finite number of cities to add, you can just simply type this on your own and say okay. So there a drop down is created, and whatever you typed in the list becomes available to you. The second option is that we can head back to data validation. Rather than type it ourselves, we will say that we can pick it up from a list. Okay, so we can just put the equal to sign and come here and scratch this, show the range of the list, and okay, so there we are, and this is picking up from this particular list. So I can just pick up from Mumbai, and if I want to bring this down, I'll just have to drag this formula, and the same formula will become available in the next cell. So I can just come here and pick this, and this formula can be dragged down, and I can come here and pick this from the list, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let me just come here back again. So the thing is, what happens if I want to add something more to this particular list? And of course, one other thing that I can do is to kind of select these and name them. So let me just call it list 1. So one advantage of naming a range is that you can put that on any sheet. It need not be on this particular sheet, and that name is actually valid across sheets. So I always recommend naming of cells, because it's a good idea. So you can come back here, and we can just open this up and say, I'm going to come back here and open this up. It says list, and I can just say list 1 because I named that thing as list 1. Okay, so exact same thing, only that this can be on any sheet. Now just see what happens if I add a few cities. So if I was to add New York, Chennai, and so on and so forth, I come back here, my list doesn't change at all. So every time I add a new city, I will have to rename my list or go back and kind of, show which ranges are having my list of cities, and that's not really a good idea. So there is an alternative way of doing this, and let us just see that, and that involves tables. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to select this and create a table. So Control T, and my table doesn't have a header, so I'm just going to go and say OK, and so it adds a header, something by default. I can call it cities or whatever else I want, and it has created a table. So recall from the previous discussion that whenever you add a row which is next to a row that is part of a table, that row also becomes part of that particular table. So that is a property that we will use now, but let us just come here and go to data and data validation, and so I have created a table. Now after creating a table, I will just choose this and create another list called as list 2. So first I have created a table, and then I have selected my cells and created list 2. So I can now head here and go to data validation, and this time around I'm saying instead of list 1, pick it up from list 2. So exact same result, 4 cities are now being shown, but look what happens when I am adding new cities. So when I come back here, New York is part of the list. Let us say if I add another city, I come back here, that city is also included. Okay, so as you keep adding cities, your drop down becomes bigger because we are utilizing the property of a table. Whenever you enter something that is next to a row that is already part of a table, then that row also becomes part of the table, and that list keeps expanding. So if you want to delete some of these things, you can just click on this, right click and say delete, and it comes back to delete columns and rows, table rows, because table is treated as special. So you can just simply do this, go back here, and you will find your list becoming shorter. So this is how dynamic lists actually work, and this is just utilizing the property of tables. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope you can work this out, create a small table and try to replicate this and see how dynamic lists basically work. Thanks for watching.